Hello my dear friends, and welcome back to another Star Wars news update. Today we've got updates for Andor, Ahsoka and more, but we're gonna start with Ahsoka and a couple of tidbits revealed by Jon Favreau and Ashley Eckstein. In an interview regarding the future of Star Wars TV shows, Favreau revealed the genre of the Mandalorian spin-off, stating that Ahsoka is going to be a samurai adventure. Star Wars at its very core has always taken inspiration from samurai culture and other traditional Japanese themes. Even George Lucas himself based A New Hope on Kurosawa's The Hidden Fortress, and so many elements of the Star Wars franchise like lightsabers, the Force and so on have their roots in Japanese culture and early 1950s Japanese cinema. Dave Filoni, who's often referred to as George Lucas's apprentice, took this inspiration further in The Mandalorian Season 2 in Chapter 13, which was Ahsoka's episode. Between the Corvus aesthetic, the Shiniwa-style gardens surrounding Morgan Elsbeth's palace, and the visuals with the lightsaber combat, the samurai adventure influence was very much present in that episode, which is why therefore it's no surprise that Filoni has taken that further with the spin-off series Ahsoka, which is what Jon Favreau is saying. Now even Ludwig Göransson's score was magical in The Jedi. 2 years later, Ahsoka Lives is still a fan favourite track from Season 2 soundtrack. Now you could even argue there was a samurai influence in Star Wars Rebels, which the Ahsoka series is rumoured to be the spiritual sequel to, so this genre is perfect in my opinion for what the series is trying to achieve. The Mandalorian was a space western, but this one is going back to some of George Lucas's earliest influences for what would eventually become Star Wars. And if it's anything like the glimpse we got in Chapter 13, we're all in for a treat. Now staying on the subject of Ahsoka, Ashley Eckstein, who voices the animated version, was interviewed regarding Rosario Dawson in the live-action show. Fans have been wondering with the Ahsoka series coming out if the voice actress who's been the voice of the character for so many years would get to appear in or play some kind of role in Disney Plus's Ahsoka next year. And unfortunately, my dear Mandalorians, the answer seems to be no. Speaking with Entertainment Weekly, the Clone Wars actress said that a recent trip to Lucasfilm was just a set visit and that she has not filmed a cameo for the Ahsoka series. In her own words, she added, "I don't want to start a rumour. People are like, she's on the set, she must have played a character. No, it was just a set visit." That's not to say that Eckstein wouldn't be against a cameo in the future though. She says, quote, "I always talk about throwing your dreams out there into the universe, so it would be a dream come true if I do get to do a cameo, because my background is in live action." Eckstein, who brought Ahsoka to life for many years before Rosario Dawson came into the Star Wars picture, has shared praise for the actress's take on the character. Ashley got to meet Rosario recently and she said that she was as lovely as can be. She even recounted the experience of shaking hands with Dawson, saying it was a dream day. It was a dream day and she was just so lovely. She says, "I can't wait to do more things with her in the future." But even if Ashley isn't in the series itself, she can't wait to see what's explored in the show. The voice actress reiterated that she would love to come back for more Ahsoka in the future. Eckstein finished things off by touching on the newly released Tales of the Jedi, noting that fans are going to love these snippets and moments in time, and will be immediately asking, when are we going to get more of this? She doesn't say if there is a Season 2 confirmed or not, but it seems very, very likely. Ashley is one of the most passionate and wonderful people in this fandom, and she truly cares about her character and the fans of the character too. If Ahsoka does get a Season 2, she really deserves to play some kind of role in it, but I'm sure her presence is going to be felt during the series, as she did give tips to Rosario before they filmed. And so now my dear friends, let's talk a little bit about the Andor series. Today's segment is pretty much all about Saw Gerrera. Andor director Toby Haynes has chimed in on that big scene at the end of episode 8. In this interview with The Hollywood Reporter, he calls that scene with Forrest Whitaker and Stellan Skarsgård a career highlight, the chance to get to work with two of the greatest actors, and he also says that getting the chance to bring Andy Serkis back to Star Wars after the sequels was a dream come true. Now we do have quite a bit to talk about in this segment, but I will say I'm going to skip all the jibber jabber. I just want to focus in on the one specific thing that's mentioned. When Toby's asked about what it was like bringing Forrest back to Star Wars, apparently they had a big discussion about the Kyber crystals. Now as you guys know from Star Wars Rebels and Rogue One, Saw Gerrera for many years was looking for clues as to what the Empire was building, and I'm talking about Project Stardust, what would eventually be the Death Star, and we know that Saw learned they were powering their most deadly weapon with Kyber crystals, and so when Forrest was brought back for Andor, he even asked the director if that's going to be in the show. No one can say for sure if they are going to include that in this season, but we do know what they're working on Narkina 5, the prison that Andor is at, are parts for the Death Star, and with Luthen in contact with Saw, the three paths of the characters might cross. So I find it really fascinating it was mentioned in this interview. But now let's talk about Saw Gerrera more broadly. In my full episode breakdown of episode 8, I discussed the various things we learnt about him at this time. He hasn't got most of the injuries he has by the time of Rogue One, 5 years down the line from Andor, but in front of Luthen, he did show his signature aggressive colours, and he believes he's the only rebel with clarity, even though Luthen was pushing for him to join a wider cause, whether that be the Partisan Alliance, the Human Cultists, or whatever. Saw and his partisans are anarchists on their own, and he is at this time the most militaristic he would ever get before his death in Rogue One, willing to do whatever it takes to defeat the Empire, even if it means harming regular civilians. Now this approach puts him in conflict with Mon Mothma later in the timeline, but the one question I want to answer today is how far did Saw really go? What was the worst thing he ever did in the name of rebellion? Not the rebellion, because he was an isolationist, but rebellion generally, and taking the stance of f*** the Empire at all costs. Well, the answer to this can be found in the Beth Revis novel Rebel Rising, and that's the story I'm going to tell you today. This mission did not give Saw his injuries, but you can imagine how similar missions might have been responsible, ones we might even see in the Andor series, as I think Tony Gilroy is going to want to take that opportunity. Are you guys ready? Let's get into it. So 1 year before the events of Andor in 6 BBY, Saw and his partisans decided to infiltrate a party taking place on the rich Midrim world of Inusagi. This planet was close in proximity to Naboo. Now the planet was holding a party at its capital to celebrate the inauguration of their first ever imperial governor. Now it's important to note right off the bat that not everyone supported the imperial occupation, and I say that because Saw did not differentiate between innocent civilians and the empire. So Saw gets Jyn Erso to make a few fake invitations, and at the party they all attend. They all wear tuxedos, and underneath they are all armed and padded. Each partisan has a deadly weapon known as an FC-1 flechette launcher. This blaster was bloody brutal. It sprayed metal flechettes as sharp as razors at high speeds and could do more damage than you can imagine. Now when the time came, the partisans let rip, and every one of the guests, including citizens, stormtroopers and the governor, not only died, but they were shredded into pieces. It was a bloodbath, and it scarred Jyn for many years to come. She would wake up randomly in the middle of the night from PTSD-induced nightmares for years and feel nauseous. One of Saw's partisans, Maya, died that night too, and some of his surviving men left Saw as they felt he had gone too far that time. It's probably the worst thing Saw Gerrera ever did as a partisan, but that's exactly his philosophy: do whatever it takes at whatever cost, fighting fire with fire and being as brutal as you can. And as we see in Star Wars Rebels as well, he does not care for innocent lives. As I say, my dear friends, I think Tony Gilroy is going to take the opportunity to show us how Saw got his injuries, and as I put forward in my breakdown, Luthen, who stays out of combat, works behind the scenes, and he might be the one to send Gerrera on the mission that causes his impairments. Let's wait and see. It might be an Aldani-style heist, or one where Saw uses brutal heuristic tactics, as he did in the novel Rebel Rising. Share your thoughts of this and everything we spoke about in the comments down below, guys. If you enjoyed this one, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, but until the next one, my dear friends, may the Force be with you always.